I went to pick up my wife's dress the morning of our anniversary party, because it felt like the kind of errand a good husband should want to do. It was practical, almost dull, which I liked. The boutique smelled faintly of steam and lavender. A radio played low, something old and unobtrusive. I gave my name at the counter and waited, hands in my pockets, rehearsing nothing at all. The owner, a woman with silver hair pulled tight at the nape of her neck, looked at the receipt, then at me, then passed me toward the fitting rooms. Her eyes held on something I couldn't see. She leaned closer, not enough to be dramatic, just enough to make the air between us change. "Stay here," she whispered. "Don't say a word. Trust me." I laughed because it felt like the wrong line from a play. "Is there a problem?" She shook her head once, sharp. "Just wait." I stepped aside, closer to a rack of pale dresses, pretending to examine lace. The radio hummed. The door to the back room opened. My wife's voice came first, bright and efficient. She was talking the way she did when she assumed she was among allies. I heard my name, casual, tossed like a placeholder. There was a second voice, another woman, maybe a friend, maybe an employee. They spoke as if the room belonged to them. "It's just easier if I handle it," my wife said. "He means well, but he gets sensitive about money." A pause. Fabric rustled. I told him it was altered twice. It wasn't. I didn't want the questions. They laughed, not cruelly, comfortably. I felt something small and precise click into place inside me. Not rage, not even shock. More like a drawer finally closing. They went on. About seating arrangements. About how I'd overthink the guest list. About how I'd insisted on inviting my sister. "He won't push back tonight," my wife said. "He never does in public." Each sentence landed softly. Which was worse? There was no single betrayal to grab onto, just a pattern I could suddenly see from above. I thought of other moments, how decisions arrived already made, how explanations followed instead of discussions. How often I'd mistaken smoothness for harmony. I considered stepping forward, clearing my throat, announcing myself like a reasonable man who had overheard something unreasonable. The idea felt clumsy, like spilling a glass to interrupt a conversation. I stayed where I was. The owner moved with purpose then. She crossed the floor and knocked once on the fitting room door before opening it. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm and loud enough to carry. "I'm afraid we won't be releasing the dress today." My wife appeared in the doorway, half zipped, startled. "What? Why?" "Because," the owner said, "the payment was authorized under conditions that were misrepresented. And because," she added, meeting my wife's eyes steadily, "there's been a violation of our policy about third-party alterations." My wife glanced toward the front of the shop. She saw me. The look on her face wasn't guilt. It was calculation, rearranging itself. "We can talk about this later," she said to the owner, already reaching for her phone. "We can talk now," the owner replied. "Or you can leave without the dress." Silence pressed in. I felt strangely steady inside it. The owner wasn't angry. She wasn't shaming anyone. She was simply enforcing a line. The authority of it was unmistakable, like a door closing softly but completely. My wife dressed quickly. When she came out, she didn't look at me. "Can you believe this?" she said, as if inviting me into a familiar role. I nodded once. "I can." It wasn't a confrontation. It was an alignment. I understood something about myself in that moment, that my quiet had always been mistaken for agreement, including by me. We left separately. She went to the car. I stayed long enough to thank the owner. She waved it off. "People deserve to know where they stand," she said, "even if it's uncomfortable." On the drive home, the city looked the same. Banners for summer sales. A busker tuning his guitar. Nothing announced that something had shifted. At the house, preparations continued. Catering trays arrived. My sister texted that she was on her way. My wife moved through rooms with practiced efficiency, issuing instructions, avoiding my eyes. The absence between us was new, but it wasn't empty. It was full of unsaid acknowledgments. When guests came, we played our parts. We smiled. We thanked people for coming. Someone raised a glass and joked about milestones. I felt a tenderness then, not for the marriage as it had been, but for the version of myself who had believed smoothness was the same as respect. Later, after the cake was cut and the music lowered, my wife found me on the back patio. The night was cool. Crickets stitched the dark together. "You embarrassed me today," she said. I waited. Silence, I was learning, didn't have to be a surrender. "I overheard," I said finally. "At the shop." Her breath hitched. "Not much, enough." "And?" she asked. "And I won't pretend I didn't," I said. "We don't have to solve anything tonight." She studied me then, as if measuring a room she'd just noticed had a different shape. "Are you threatening me?" "No," I said. "I'm deciding." The party wound down. People left with hugs and leftover favors. We cleaned in parallel. When the house was quiet, we sat at opposite ends of the couch. There was no declaration, no promise. Just a shared awareness that something essential had been named, even if only to ourselves. I don't know what happens next. Trust doesn't shatter all at once. It thins. It asks questions it didn't before. But I know this: silence showed me the truth, and authority, gentle, professional, unmistakable, gave me the space to hear it. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't waiting to be told where I stood.